All right, everybody. Welcome to another Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific. We're here to mastermind with mortgage professionals, helping you be the highest impact, most valuable mortgage professionals in America. Like that's what this community is all about, helping you create impact and value through advice. So thanks for showing up. Man, we got a full house today. What's up, Mr. Bookspan?
I'm so excited to be here. I just got off about a little over an hour of teaching a group of loan officers, and there were some new loan officers on there. And I thought it was great because it reminded me of this idea that we all need to be in rookie mode this year, right? We have to come from curiosity. And I realized that some of the most successful loan officers I saw last year, it was their first year. And it's because they just didn't have that curse of knowledge that the rest of you have, the rest of us have. And so I'm excited. They asked where they could get great data to share with their realtors. And I said, gosh, guess what? You should be jumping on because we are going to have Mr. Data on the Mortgage Coach call today. But before I bring on him, let's talk to my good friend, Deb Bird, Miss Plug and Play SM. What's up?
Well, hello, good morning. And I have to say, the last few discovery calls just from this week were newer loan officers, like just getting into the business. And even I taught a class with a room full of real estate agents, and I had quite a few that, again, just got licensed. I thought, how crazy are you? But maybe it's a good thing, right? So thank you. I'm excited to be on this call. I've been following Keeping Current Matters for a very long time. We use them quite a bit when we are doing coaching with clients of just how to help their agent partners from the loan officer side. And so I can't wait to learn about this opportunity you're going to teach us about so we don't get left behind.
All right.
Absolutely.
So let's bring on our special guest, Dave Childers. For anybody who's been in the business for, a long time, he needs no introduction. I mean, he is a, industry leader. The past few years, he's been speaking to Dave. How many realtors do you think you, through Tom Ferry,
I don't know
last
a
year?
lot. We've talked to a lot, and certainly get a chance to do that frequently out with Keeping Current Matters and Tom, and grateful for it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tens of thousands, guys. I mean, he is Tom Ferry's top speaker. Like it just seems like every event that Tom's doing, Dave Childers is on a stage, and he's helping realtors being data-driven, local realtor experts, and he helps mortgage professionals, be data-driven mortgage professionals. And so, David, you picked the title today, Seize the Opportunity or Get Left Behind. What was your thinking around that?
I think this is going to be a year where that will be the case for people in our business. Now, I want to say this. You brought it up, Todd, and you just brought it up, Deborah. People that are new in the business, you have a chance to seize the opportunity. I think a chance that probably is better than average because you are building new disciplines, you're building new habits, building new relationships that you can get out there and do it. But I do think it is a year that when I talk to agents and loan officers, there are a lot of people that, unfortunately, there's my fear, if you miss the opportunity, that are looking in the rearview mirror right now. And they're thinking about what happened last year. And listen, I think we all can look at last year and say, man, I'm glad it's 2024. Whether you believe in New Year's resolutions or not, I'm glad it's a new year. It's a new beginning. And we can look ahead. And I don't come today with sort of this blind positivity, but what I come with is an optimistic perspective on how we can lead through this market. And I think there is absolutely that. And that's where that will be the difference maker in this year in seizing the opportunity or getting left behind. So that was what was in my head when I gave that to Paul.
Yeah, well, I love it. It's a great headline and a great opportunity for everyone on this call. So remember, folks, this is a mastermind. If you have questions, put those in chat. If you get takeaways from this or things that you just want to call out, say it, and please use the reaction button. It makes it funner for everyone when someone says something of value and you give a reaction. So I know you have data that you want to share, you have insights that you want to share. Where do you want to start?
I think I'd start here. Well, first, let me say this. We're doing this call today I think everybody that, Todd and Deborah and you, Dave, know this, but we are launching a new product here, Keeping Current Matters. I think a lot of loan officers know Keeping Current Matters, and certainly we have been the cornerstone of being the educated agent for over 15 years. And we've got a product called Bridge Builders now for loan officers, for advisors in this business. Okay. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I believe that what we do, 5 or 10 years ago, what we do at Keeping Current Matters and now at Bridge Builders was sort of nice to have. Today, Deborah, you mentioned it, and using content and getting out there, it is a must-have. To be the educated advisor in today's market is the difference maker. So here's how I would say this. If I were to sort of anchor people's minds in this way, it's first that most loan officers in the business kind of know what's happening. They understand what's happening. They know it. Good ones maybe understand it a little bit better. They understand what's happening. But here's the difference maker. Great advisors can explain what's happening. They can explain it to a referral partner. They can explain it to a borrower. They can explain it to somebody that they're sitting down talking with. And I think that is going to be, as we go forward, to seize the opportunity this year, you're going to need to be able to explain what's happening. And we live in a world, in a business right now, where that can be tough at times. Listen, we have 52 people here in the building of Keeping Current Matters that work to do this every single day, to break it down for you and for the consumers and the borrowers that you serve. And some days we scratch our head and go, gosh, this is tough. How do we ultimately explain that? So that's how I would start our time. And I have 3 things that I would bring to the call today. And you're right, Dave, I have some slides. I'll show you those slides. Get those over to everybody. And then I'm gonna show you at the end, if you want to start a free trial, check this out. We're going to give you the opportunity to do it. Be the first group to do it. I mean, this is so new that I don't have a site right now for folks to go to. We'll have it the next week, but we will give you a chance to check that out. But here's what I would say. Okay. And this, if you have something to write down with, write this down. Because this, I believe, will be the year. This is the forward looking. I wouldn't call this a forecast. So what I believe is going to happen in our business, and it's this. I believe this year will be the year of the 5s. Okay. And there are a few elements of that I want to give you. First, we believe sometime in the second half of the year, we will be in a mortgage rate environment that will begin with 5. Now that might be 5.99, but we believe we will be there. Okay. And there are some technical signals that we see happening in that. And certainly as we look forward, we will see that. Okay. Second thing, we believe there will be, based on everything that is showing up right now, about 5.5 million homes, total homes sold in this country this year. That's existing home sales, that's new construction. 5.5 million homes sold in this country this year. And third, we see a market where the approximate rate of appreciation of home prices will be about 5%. Okay, so if I'm thinking, if I'm on here, I want to share this with my team, year of the 5s, and we're putting out a lot of content on that, a lot of information on that right now that you can use. Why is this important? We started off a minute ago talking about maybe some of us looking in the rearview mirror, talking about last year. I believe this will be a market in real estate this year where we shouldn't expect to wonder what's coming next month. And we kind of, went through 2023 and it was like, I wonder what's going to happen next month. What's going to happen? This is a market that will incrementally get better as we go throughout the year. We should expect that. We should work to that. We should have that optimism as we speak to clients. Now, again, I'm not showing up here saying I think overnight things are going to be better and we're going to be in a completely different market. Not saying that at all. What I am saying is slowly, methodically, I believe this market is going to to improve. So that's kind of the backdrop of what I have. I want to pause there for a second, Dave. I saw you on there, and then I'm going to break down each one of these topics for you and give you a perspective on that. Now, I always say this before I turn it back over to you, Dave. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I'm not showing up here saying that. But what I am saying is you need to have a relevant market opinion based upon facts. And I will bring you the facts today. And you can take those and you can say, hey, here's what I believe based on that. Because that's the difference maker right now in our business. So Dave, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah. Well, one question, and then I have a kind of a framing statement before you start sharing all that. So I know, so this year is going to be the year of the fives, and, you know, Dan Rawich said, hey, I think we'll be there by end of Q1, but we'll see. So I buy into that. 5.5 million homes sold this year. What's the number for last year, or the estimated number?
So existing home sales just came out, just under 4 million existing home sales, about 700,000 new home sales. So call it right in the neighborhood of 4.5.
So 4.5.
Say again.
Okay. So 4.5 last year.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. 4.5 last year. So an extra million homes.
Yeah.
And then appreciation at 5%. What was the average last year, you know, from an appreciation?
Well, there's not an average. To look at appreciation, you want to look at same home sales, and I'll cover that today.
We'll get to that. We'll get to what it was.
I'll tell you real quick, because it's important. We'll likely end up this year around 6-7%.
Oh, really? That high?
Price appreciation. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's something that's interesting because, and we're going to talk about all this. What gets talked about is what's happening when the good news comes out. Very few news outlets talk about that, right? That's where we come in and we can say, hey, we have a chance to talk about that now.
Okay, cool. And then my framing statement. Well, first of all, before I do a frame, Todd or Deborah, did you have a question or a comment before I say what I'm going to say, and then have Dave run with it?
I wanted to echo that David said a relevant market opinion based on data. And I've heard you say this a lot, David, that for people who are listening, remember, an expert opinion doesn't mean perfect. You've said this a few times, and I've now used it and repeated it quite a bit, but I think sometimes people get nervous to share their truth or their data in fear of possibly being wrong. And I always try to remind people, I haven't met a perfect economist yet, but at least have a relevant expert opinion, and give yourself permission that doesn't mean always perfect. So
yeah. Well, totally. And I love that you said that great advisors can explain what's happening. And so I think that's what I love about what your tools do, is it helps people better understand it so they can explain it. Because I do find oftentimes I hear loan officers throw up their opinion, but then they don't they don't know enough about it to actually explain it. So I thought that was a really critical thing as you're all thinking about how are you going to gain this knowledge? What are the tools you're going to use? That's really the goal. The goal is for you to explain your opinion, whether that opinion is the absolutely correct one, as everyone's pointed out, or not.
Yeah, right. You know, I think that's such a good point, Todd, because we live in a world, first of all, but a business where there are a lot of opinions. Everybody's got an opinion about real estate. Very few of them are based upon facts. They're based, I mean, look at where we're at right now, and it's the 19th of January. How many people were with family and friends over, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever the case is, and they're like, I wouldn't buy a home right now. Whatever everybody's got an opinion, but they're not based upon fact. And Deborah, I appreciate you bringing that up of having a relevant market opinion based upon fact. We were together in Dallas last year, and I always, that came from Jim McMahon. So many people know that, or know Jim. And I always want to give him credit for that, but it's such a great statement. And you're right. There is this fear that what if I say something and it's not, you know, it's not right, whatever the case is. And the best analogy I can give people listening right now is the analogy of giving great advice. Not giving perfect advice is what every doctor, what every attorney, what every professionally practicing individual does. So if you, heaven forbid, end up with some sort of illness and you go see the doctor, what they're going to do is they're going to say, here's what we see, here's what we're going to prescribe, and come back and see us in 30, 60, or 90 days. And we're going to say, here's what we now see. Here's what our prescription is. And here's how we're going to go forward. I can give you the best information for what I have right now. And listen, being able to confidently say, this is what I see happening right now. And if that changes, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to bring you up to speed on that. So,
Okay,
great
so
points.
yeah, really, really great points. And I'm going to put this in chat in a minute, but I kind of wrote out a little compilation of what everybody said and also put in a little bit of my own little seasoning. But great advisors can explain your opinions and your advice in a way that delivers clarity, confidence, impact, and value. So I will put that mouthful in a minute. And guys, the name Bridge Builders, like Bridge Builders is a brand that helps mortgage professionals not only deliver that to buyers and families, it helps mortgage professionals deliver that to realtors and helps realtors. Because even realtors that subscribe to Keeping Current Matters need help at delivering on that promise. So I'm going to put that promise. That's an anchor. And this is an exciting call because this is the first time you're hearing about the relaunch of Bridge Builders, what it's doing, how it can help you win with realtors and do that by helping borrowers. So Dave, where do you want to start?
So let's start with the rate environment. You mentioned Dan Raywich, super smart guy, way smarter than I am, that said, hey, we're going to be heading that way. Let me give you a couple of visuals, because here's the difference maker. When I can use visuals, whether it's on a social post, whether it's in a meeting that I have, whatever it is, I can help communicate a topic a lot better. So let's talk about mortgage rates for a second, and we'll get things started. So I'm going to share my screen here. You should be able to see that. This is a look at from Freddie Mac, the average 30-year fixed, going all the way back to the fall of last year. And what we can see, what I would, kind of look at in this is visually, we can see rates peaked back in late, sort of October, early November. And, for the weeks following, we've seen this downward trend. Now, the last couple of weeks, depending on the economic information that comes out or whatever's happening with whatever situation, see some fluctuation in that, but we see a downward trending environment since then. And we believe as we go throughout the year, we will see that. Now, what's important are a couple of things to think about. And then I'm going to give you a couple of visuals on the 10-year treasury, which I think is critically important that we stay abreast of. So first one, Dean Baker says it also appears mortgage rates are now falling. They're almost certainly not going to fall to pandemic lows. That's a key. Nobody's calling for 2 3/4 on a 30-year fixed or 3% or 4%. But he says, although we may soon see rates under 6%, which would be low by pre-Great Recession standards. I think folks in our business have kind of said, okay, I understand that we're not going back to where we were, a couple of years ago, but we believe we get back in that 5 handle on a 30-year fixed. You're going to see a lot more activity in this market. Our job right now for the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever, into the spring market, is to be there, to be diligent, to plant those seeds so that when that does come around, we're ready, right? We're in the mix and we're going. Okay, what's the other reason that we believe that? Well, we certainly want to get through some of the economic issues that we're seeing in this country. Goldman Sachs came out and said, we forecast 3 consecutive 25 basis point cuts in the Fed funds rate, March, May, and June, to reset the policy rate from a level that Powell has recently taken to describe well into restrictive territory rather than just restrictive. Now, we know that mortgage rates do not follow the Fed funds rate, but we know also that as we start to see cuts, that will be a signal that we are starting to move through some of the issues that we have faced economically in this country. So that will be a positive sign for us in that. All of this leads to the 2 graphics that I'll share here, and then I'll pull them down, and any comments that people have, or if you have questions right now, drop those in the chat. We'll look at those and certainly address them. Here's what I would be talking about, and I would have ready as I'm talking with referral partners. I would explain this. I'd get sort of my script down in a couple of graphics here. First, for the past 50 years, the 30-year mortgage rate has moved in unison with the 10-year treasury. They have sort of this symbiotic relationship. And literally, there's been a spread of 170 basis points for the last 50 years. So you could take the 10-year treasury. If you're new on this call, take the 10-year treasury. You can go look it up every day, add 170 basis points historically, and you'd be at the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, certainly in the ballpark. Where do we sit right now? January 2023, that spread sits at 2.63, 260 basis points, let's call it. What do we believe as we go forward? One, we'll get some relief on the 10-year treasuries as we go throughout the year. Certainly the last few weeks, we've seen that rising. And we will get relief on the spread. Why do I believe that? Because we're already seeing it. This is a look at the spread going all the way back to the beginning of last year. Average spread over that time period, 280 basis points. And right now we're back down to 260. So as we see relief there, you get, I don't know if we get down to 1.7 on the spread, but you get down to 2, we're in the 5s. There are some technical signals. I don't know what, I'm going to pull these down for a second. I don't know what Dan's, looking at. He's a super smart guy, but we see those signals happening relative to mortgage rates. And that will be a welcome sign for borrowers. Here's why this is important. Now, I don't know how much content folks on this call have built based on this. The average mortgage payment in this country on the average purchase of a home has decreased by just over $300 in the last, call it 90 days since rates peaked. The headline of any news story relative to real estate overwhelmingly in the past year has been about how unaffordable homes have been. And there is an affordability challenge in this country. We can talk about that. But we need to also talk about the improvements as we see them going throughout this year, because we'll have a chance to tell that story. You're on mute.
Couple of things, everybody. I'm going to put a link to Dan Rawich's market update in chat. So if you did not listen to that, that's a must watch in the community. And then I want to share a couple slides from First Home IQ, because these are like really good examples of what people are hearing in the marketplace. Like, the kind of news that your customers are hearing. And it's one of the reasons why Bridge Builders is so important. I mean, this was on Instagram a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. It was on Josh Altman's Instagram, and he was asked by a Fox newscaster, is now a good time for first-time home buyers to buy? Or like, hey, he called out how tough it is, and Josh said, hey, it's not bad to rent. It's okay, especially in California. The tenant laws are very strong. Maybe it's not bad to be a renter in a market like this. Guys, that's what, you're hearing. That's what first-time home buyers are hearing. This is last week in the New York Times. They have a podcast called The Daily, and they did an article or a podcast for 27 minutes called "Should You Rent or Buy? The New Math." And guys, I found a transcript of this online. This is me cutting and pasting specific sentences and things that were said on this podcast. And it was, you should pretty much give up on the idea. Yes, for most people, the answer is yes. You should give up on the idea, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. Renting has an unfair stigma in America. Guys, renting, owning versus renting is, the wealth gap in America.
Yeah, right.
They went on to say, you're throwing money away when you're buying a home, actually quicker than when you rent. And they called out brokers' commissions, real estate commissions, wasting money. They called out interest on mortgage is wasting money. They called out, home repairs is wasting money. And then the worst of all, they called out the down payment, because, you could be making money in the stock market on that down payment. And they said it's usually 20%. So,
Which is not even accurate.
yeah,
right?
which isn't even accurate, so guys, like, if the number one realtor in America doesn't have it right, that means a whole lot of other realtors don't have it right. And if this is what's coming from mainstream media, it's never been more important that you lean in, you become a data-driven mortgage advisor. And this is just so important. Todd or Deborah, anything else you want to say before we hand it back to David?
Well, I just love the simplicity of, the visuals of what you have. Because again, I think if you're going to be able to explain it to a consumer, explain it to a realtor, you have to show them visually in a way that makes sense to them. And, Dave, I mean, you and I, with the First Home IQ presentations we've been doing, I mean, those articles and Josh's opinion and the New York Times thing, I mean, it's just terrible for, what we all believe around wealth building. But, when I see those slides, it was funny. I was texting with a buddy of mine, Joe New, out of Texas. David, I think you probably know Joe. He's been a long time builders person, and he's built his business on using the slide decks that you all prepare every month. And then he takes your slide decks and he goes into all the real estate offices he works with and he teaches the content and makes them look really smart. He's able to explain it because of what you do. And then I was laughing because some of those slides, since my team is part of Bridge Builders and has been, I think, since the day it came around, it's a good resource. I'm laughing because I saw my business partner does a weekly 20-minute market pulse update that he does on Zoom for consumers and realtors. And so some of those slides were in his update. So I was like, all right, I'm glad to see that the team is using the tools that are available to us.
Totally. Yeah. Love that.
Well, and I was just going to add too, that's what I love about, when you're committed to creating content on social, and I'm always echoing that you need to use third-party data or charts to just validify what you say, because I don't frequently see a lot of agents or loan officers say, now is not a good time to buy, or you shouldn't buy. So you could come across with like commission breath, so to speak. So that data
Right.
really helps validate the words that you say. But it also makes me kind of sad to see what you just showed us, Dave, because I think back of even my own personal journey when Jordan and I were both teachers and we had 4 kids so quickly. And if it weren't for real estate, I don't know how we would have gotten out of some of our student loan debt or credit card debt just from being able to sell. And we were constantly moving up in home size, but our payment was staying about the same because of the equity that would roll over. And then getting into this space and becoming a student and wanting to learn and be able to serve more people by the information. It just, you have people like, Josh Altman, who has influence. And unfortunately, people may listen to what he has to say and take that advice and choose to rent. And it's like, what's your opportunity cost of not getting better? Because people make decisions based off the advice that they receive, and not all advice is equal.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll go ahead and say it. It's malpractice, I believe, in our business. I mean, the number one way that people build wealth in this country is through home ownership. That is a fact. You can't dispute it. The second thing is you want to destroy a buy versus rent conversation. And certainly, Dave, I mean, there are tools that Trust Engine has that do a great job of that. But you add in equity, you destroy that conversation. That's what's missing right there. Everybody, listen, this is somebody told me this. You'll get a kick out of this, Dave, Todd, and Deborah as well. Todd Bookspan. I don't know if he was, been on this call recently, but he told me that we were talking over the holiday. He was like, David, everybody that lives indoors pays a mortgage. It's just a matter of who you pay it to. And I'm like, that's really good. If you're renting, you're paying someone's mortgage. Don't kid yourself. So let's move on. Brett, you asked, what is the driving factor? I think I saw a question in the 1 million plus home sales, and I thought you'd never ask. Okay, so I'm excited about that. There are 3 things that I will point to directly that will contribute to more homes sold in this country. So let me share those slides. They're exciting things.
Yeah, and while he's sharing those slides, I put a link to the Josh Altman Instagram post so you guys can hear it for yourself. He said a few other things that weren't great around, people with 2% and 3% mortgages. And I actually did a LinkedIn post last week on it, and it's got a lot of followers. I'll put a link to that so you can see my response, how
Yeah.
I'm giving my opinion and my advice, hopefully in a way that gives clarity.
Yeah. So let me answer that question that Brett asked. What will contribute to more homes sold? Let me kind of position it this way. You see this graphic here, FHFA, 78.7% of mortgages at time of origination, less than 5%. That is a shocking number for anybody looking at it. But hey, you mentioned things that maybe I didn't see, the Josh Altman piece, that what he said about this. Good for those homeowners. Good for them. Right? And a lot of people on the call that are in that position. Now it's caused enormous challenges for inventory because a lot of those people are like, I don't know if we want to sell. I don't blame them. You know, you can't go out and rent something for what your mortgage payment is a lot of cases. But what we know, there are enormous amount of people with a preferable interest rates, and that creates the lock-in effect. The lock-in of we're not going anywhere with our house. And we kind of built this graphic here that if you're below 3%, you're likely not selling. You're 3 to 4, probably not. 4 to 5, you're going to think about it. Okay, so that presents a significant risk. What do we believe about that going into the future? Well, Lance Lambert said this. He said, we might be at peak lock-in effect. This is important to remember. Move-up or lifestyle sellers may be coming to terms with the fact that 3 and 4% mortgage rates aren't returning anytime soon. The lock-in effect eases up in 24. It will help boost existing home sales from the very low levels experienced at the end of 2023. So as we go forward, we see improvements in the economy, we see a better mortgage rate environment that will then, ease up on this lock-in effect. Let's take it further. Erica Flemons from Bright MLS, one of the largest MLSs in the country. Homeowners who are selling aren't influenced by rates. 90.5% of successful November sellers stated they were going to sell regardless of where rates were. Now, here's a piece of content that I will give you. So one reason, I told you there were 3. First reason, we see an improvement in the number of homeowners that feel locked in to their home based on the mortgage rate that they have right now. Right? They'll start to go, okay, we need to make some decisions and we need to do something differently. What's the second thing? This study right here. This is a great piece of content to create. Deborah, you can go to the KCM Instagram. We did a reel on this and it blew up. Top 3 reasons over the last 12 months buyers paused their decisions. Number 1 reason, 72% said because of mortgage rates. That will change this coming year. So people that were at a preferable rate saying, we're not going to do anything, we're going to chill out here. And then buyers that are out there, oh, by the way, we know the majority of buyers are also sellers. That'll free up inventory. That's a good thing. Said, we're not going to do it. Ton of pent-up demand right now in the market, right? If you'll see if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of news on it right now. Existing home sales falling to very low level into last year. That's going to change as we go throughout this year, right? People said, you know what, we're gonna wait, put our hands in our pocket, so to speak, and we'll wait till things change. That will change this year. Third thing, new construction. National Association of Home Builders market currently requires a higher level of new construction inventory due to a persistent lack of resale inventory. Newly built homes accounted for 31% of total homes available for sale in November, compared to an approximate 12% historical average. I'll take these down for a second. Lock-in effect of people in a home that say, we're going to say, will decrease this year. Second, buyers that pause their search because of rates will come down this year. 3, builders are building them as fast as they can. And oh, by the way, who's won in this market? Builders have won. Agents and folks in the mortgage business have polarizing opinions on builders, right? If I don't have a deal with a builder, I don't want to work with them. They're not going to pay a commission, or they have an exclusive preferred financing arm. Well, if we help somebody get into new construction, we free up inventory. That's a reality. That helps the business. And I would say, build those relationships where you can. I'm not saying that those aren't issues there, but no doubt in this market, builders have won. They've taken concessions and bought down rates, and they've won in this market. Deborah, you're in North Dallas there. I'm not as familiar with that market, but there's a ton of builders there. I know for sure they're building, and that varies from market to market. But Brett, it's a great question. Those are the driving forces behind more homes sold this year.
Well, and I know you all are feeling the pain of what David's saying about the new construction, because you all know that, XYZ home builder is going to offer a gajillion dollars of credit to buy a rate down, and that you're not going to be able to match because they've built it in the price. And I would just tell you to put on a different hat, put on the advisor hat with those folks, and just say, gosh, I'm super excited you found a home. And you probably know that they're going to bribe you with this big incentive to use their lender. And, they may be the greatest lender ever, or they may be brand new, but I would love to act as your advisor and walk you through it, and then help them use that credit in the right way to structure the right loan and be there for the refinance. Because with 100% certainty that that lender's not going to follow up with them. And it's a great way for you to endear yourself to the client. It's a great way for you to endear yourself to the agent. And it's a great way for you to practice your mortgage coach TCA skills by showing them a total cost analysis, why that their way that they're buying the rate down is dumb, to spend 20,000 to do a permanent buy down, maybe talking to a temporary buy down, because we all know that rates are going to be lower, as David just pointed out, and you'll have that refinance opportunity sooner if you actually have them structure it better.
I have a question, David. Anything that, from just the estimation of home sales, what about with it being an election year? Like, are there any patterns or trends from
Sure.
previous election years that will possibly impact some of that?
Yeah, it's a question that comes up a lot. We will, as we go throughout the year, we will publish content on that. I can tell you, in the last election cycle, we did it. Very, very little impact historically in an election year. Typically, the year following sees a little bit of a bump, but it's negligible. If anything, you can draw in home sales the month prior to an election, because people are like, I'm going to wait and see how this works out. But most people aren't looking right now going, how's that going to change? That doesn't affect my my buying or selling my home, right? And generally, depending on which party wins, you feel more optimistic about the economy and about what's going ahead. I will tell you this, I always love making this statement, because I'm like, I don't want to get political, but whenever somebody says that, that means they want to get political, just so you know. This is an election year. The biggest issue we will face as a business is both sides will use housing as fodder to say, this is why you should vote for us. You know why you can't buy a home? Because Wall Street's buying every one of the homes, and we're going to bring in legislation to say they can't do that. Well, that's a lie. That's a straight up lie. And yet it'll be used to distract people. And we can have the advice and the opinion and the facts about what's really happening. But yeah, that'll be the biggest issue we face. It will not be a, sort of fundamental issue in the business. It'll be misinformation, truthfully.
Well, by the way, that brings up another really valuable point, why this year is a year to really double down and be a bridge builder. Be a mortgage coach who can personalize and localize based off of a consumer's assumptions to make a confident, clear decision, and then be a bridge builder that is using data to deliver confidence and clarity to people. So we got about 20 minutes left. I want to make sure everybody really knows what it means to be a bridge builder. So wherever you want to weave that into the conversation, and then 2, what are some of the insights you want to make sure get delivered during today's session? And feel free to share more slides, or walk us through what it means to be a bridge builder.
Yeah, for sure. Let me give you a couple more slides here. I want to answer a couple questions that have come up. Paul, speak to the effect of pent-up demand hitting the market on appreciation rate. I don't think there will be this wave of homes that comes on the market that has an impact on appreciation rate, if that's what you're asking. Most surveys would say we are undersupplied in this country by between 2 and 5 million homes. I mean, you literally couldn't put enough inventory in the market right now that would, well, I shouldn't say that, you probably could somehow, but that would have an issue there. Comp litigation on agents, it's a massive distraction. That's my point there. What it will do is it will force agents to be advisors. It will be a sort of flight to quality, right? The whole issue is, do I need representation? Yes, you do. But there are a lot of people in our business that have given, representation a bad name in real estate and in the mortgage business, right? We want to be the professional advisors in what we do. So let me talk about this last point of 5% appreciation. I'll hit that real quick, and then we'll talk about what it means to be a bridge builder. Love to have some folks check that out. But first thing I'll say, Selma Hupp said this: with mortgage rates dropping, demand for homes in early 2024 is likely to be strong. We're very bullish on the spring market right now. Again, put pressure on prices similar to trends observed in early 2023. Most markets will continue to reach new home price highs over the course of 2024. One of the things that we do for bridge builders, we stay on top of what are all the forecasts so that you can communicate those. This is the most recent forecast for 2024 home prices. 8 outlets that forecast prices. You can see the average 1.6%, anywhere from 4% appreciation to almost 2% depreciation. I think they're wrong in that. Now, I told you I'm going to give you a relevant market opinion based upon a fact. Those are the facts. This is my opinion. I don't think these forecasters right now want to stick their neck out and say, we think we're going to have a good year. That's the truth. But if you look at the dynamics of this market going forward, it supports very normal home price appreciation. We've had to update our historical home price appreciation graphs because they've been skewed over the last few years, but 4.9% is the average going back in home price appreciation. So keeping that in mind, even if you look out for the next 5 years, the home price expectation survey you see right here goes from last year, 2023 to 2028, very normalized home price appreciation, not 15 or 20% like we saw, a couple of years ago. And that is a good thing for real estate. I told you the one thing that destroys the should I rent right now is equity. And if you were to take this right here, this estimation, this forecast for home price appreciation, apply it to the average home in this country, which is about $400,000, it's worth $72,000 for the average buyer. So you can wait. It'll just cost more down the road. And I'm not suggesting somebody do something they don't want to do. What I am saying is if it's the right time for you, you can afford it, it's a great time to buy a home. So I think there are a lot of dynamics that support that in the market to see a very normalized home price appreciation environment in the coming year. But I think a lot of these forecasts and a lot of people's eyes are in the rearview mirror versus looking ahead and saying what's going to happen this year. I hope that breaks that down for everybody on the call. As bridge builders, and certainly what we do at Keeping Current Matters is to give you all of that information so that you're equipped. You can have a conversation. Now, why is that important? And I can't remember who brought it up, but let's imagine you're having a conversation with somebody and they're like, you know what? I think this market's about to blow up. There's no way that this house right here is worth this. 2 years ago, it was worth that. The best question you can ever ask somebody in that type of interaction is this: share with me what you've heard. Share with me what leads you to think that. All right, I want to hear that. I read an article. Well, did you really read the article or did you see the headline? Anybody gotten somebody sends you a text. I don't know if anybody on the call has gotten this. Somebody sends a text and they're like, did you see this? The whole world's going to go down in flames. The text back to them is, did you read the article? And I promise you 90% of the people aren't going to text you back because they didn't read the article. They just read the headline and they're like, tell me what you think about this. Well, if you read the article, tell me what your concern is. Because unless it's flat out wrong and it's misleading, it's oftentimes has a headline that may be factually correct, but tremendously misleading. You know, you take a situation like foreclosures. We've covered it extensively. It says foreclosures are double what they were 2 years ago. That sounds terrible. Well, 2 years ago, there was a moratorium on foreclosures. Nobody could get foreclosed on. We're below even 2019 right now. 2023 just wrapped up below 2019 in the number of foreclosures in this country. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But if somebody just reads the news, they see that. So, Dave, what does it mean to be a bridge builders? So you can become a subscriber to Bridge Builders, just like you can become a subscriber to Keeping Current Matters. But we give you all of this on a monthly basis. We give you a blog post every day to share. We give you a monthly market report. Todd, you talked about that. Your team uses it to then go, hey, here's our market update. You can do exactly what I'm doing. We give you the words, we transcribe it. You can go, hey, I want to talk to you a minute about what I think is going to happen with home prices. You want to talk about something that'll get people talking? Start talking about home prices. I will guarantee you people will talk about it and they'll have an opinion. We give you all the resources that you need to be the educated advisor in this market relative to real estate and everything happening. So you can step into an office, make a presentation. You can step into a sit down with a borrower and say, let me show you what's happening in the real estate market right now. We even have a local element to Bridge Builders now where you can pull your local information by zip code and say, hey, here's what's happening with inventory. Here's why homes are selling so fast, whatever the case is in your local market. And so our aim, I tell people this all the time, if you were to come into our office right now, we have a wall that says, we believe every family should feel confident when buying and selling a home. And that's what drives what we do every single day, is to equip you to give you the information that you need to help somebody make a confident decision. Not to try to talk them into something they don't want to do, but to be the educator. That's why, Dave, you and I have known each other for 20 plus years, and Deborah and Todd as long, as that. And we're so aligned because we both believe that the educated agent working with the educated mortgage advisor wins in this market. That's what we want to do. We want to see buyers and sellers, borrowers out there getting the best advice possible so they can make the best decision in what, for most people, is the largest investment of their lives. Right. And it's not just about the finances of it. There's so many intangible, non-financial benefits of home ownership that we know. And that's what drives us every day.
Love it, guys. So, guys, it's, David, what you've done, it's incredible. Like I have a login and a membership, and, as David said, monthly reports, every month you're getting a presentation, a download, something that you can edit in a PowerPoint, scripting that helps you position it, lunch and learns. We're always talking about how you need to get out and help realtors be more successful. You should have 2 total cost analysis with you. And just about every interview I have done, the number one interview to recruit realtors is why buy now, and have a version for move-up buyers and have a version for renters. But you go in armed with Bridge Builders content and a couple MortgageCoach TCAs, you are a genius. You are getting business. Strategy calls, webinar content. They do a deep dive and they update this constantly. And then my favorite new ad is this local, yeah. They've always done a great job on a national level of saying, hey, here's national information. And I've always said, now we need to make it personal, based off the consumer's assumptions and beliefs, and local. And now, you could go in, put in your zip code, put in the city you want to target, and you have local content, local slides, and national slides. So, dude, first of all, thank you, because this, it helps everything. It helps what we're doing at Trust Engine and how we're trying to help families achieve financial freedom through making better decisions. Like what you've done helps that mission at First Home IQ, the nonprofit. that, Todd and I have co-founded. It helps you make the case for the next generation that, like, hey, the wealth gap between owning a home and not owning a home is widening. Like
Totally.
it's getting wider. Renting net worth staying the same in America, and people who own their future and own real estate, it's getting wider. And there's, when you look at the data and you look at the demographics, that will continue indefinitely. And so I just really have a lot of passion, be a mortgage coach, be a bridge builder. And Todd, anything you want to say, or Deborah, anything you want to say before we
I want to share one
go
slide
ahead,
real
Dave.
quick. Go ahead, Todd. This is, so if
I
somebody
just want to make
wants,
sure I didn't jump the gun with the wrong email address. So you're right.
oh,
Where I was
you're
going to
good.
ask
I
the
just
question,
popped it
put
up
into the
here. So if
chat.
anybody wants to get, check it out, you can go check it out for 14 days, 2 weeks, info@bridgebuilderskcm.com. Send your first and last name, company phone number. We'll get you set up. You can check it out and decide if it's right for you. But go ahead, Todd.
Well, that was it. I just want to make sure that was the right thing. And I think that Dave Savage, what you showed, the local market data, I think that's really the key, because, as you're all out there, I just know, part of what we as mortgage advisors are telling our clients is you can't believe the doom and gloom that they've written in the national data. You got to look at what's local to you, and the fact that you guys can slice and dice that local data down, and that now you as a loan originator, will have access to that, I think is just super valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me speak to that really quickly, because it's a great point. Realize anybody that you're working with, when they turn on the TV, when they pick up a newspaper, or I don't even know if most people don't even do that. They read news on their phone in the morning or whenever they read it. They're educated at a national level. That's most times what an article is written about relative to real estate. So understanding the national market is critically important. And then comparing that and applying my local expertise and saying, hey, you've heard about inventory challenges. Let me tell you what's happening right here, right now. That's where the difference maker sort of collides in that conversation.
Love it. Agreed. So, guys, I can't wait to hear mortgage coaches, people that are powered by Trust Engine, talking about how you're using bridge builders in your local market. We want to hear stories. We want to hear strategies. Would love to know of the slides, what's creating the most value and impact for you. Deborah, I want to make sure before we, run out of time here, any social media coaching you want to give folks on how they should be leveraging bridge builders and the content Dave is sharing.
Well, something that you had mentioned is just, the biggest trump card for should I buy or should I keep renting? And you talked about the equity piece. And I really want everyone who's listening to know that you don't have to put all the pressure on yourself to create content. And what I would love to see more of is you interviewing past clients and let your clients share their story through your story, which helps create, you guys tag each other on social, which really helps you adopt trust. But I put in the chat that hopefully you guys are doing your win by noon ideal work week, where Thursdays you're calling and you're doing your annual mortgage reviews. Even if there's no benefit, doesn't look like there could be a benefit. They could be sitting on a 2.5% rate. What I would love is to hear more stories of people who, maybe it was 2020, 2021, and they were first-time buyers. They were renting, they were scared. It was a buyer frenzy. They maybe had to lose a couple of offers to finally win one. And everyone was probably telling them, don't buy. Like, why would you go 100,000 over list price? Are you crazy? And so to be able to say, okay, it's now 2024, let's look at the decision you made in 2020. Let's look at how much the home has appreciated. And then let's look at if you were to buy that same home today, today's interest rates and what that home price would be, how much more would that monthly payment be? And almost doing like a total cost analysis over the good of the decision, the scary decision that you made that you were nervous about, but get them like almost this like be proud of yourself, but don't feel like you always have to tell that story. You'd be amazed of how many people that you've helped where their day job may be a teacher. But guys, they could be like this little micro influencer on TikTok or Instagram. And if you ask to do an interview, they'll even have it where the captions and trending audio and they're tagging you, and people love to tell their story. So let them be the hero. You're the guide, and interview your past clients. Make sure you're doing your annual asset reviews, even if you assume there may not be an opportunity to just share great news of like, congrats on that decision you made. Look at how much equity. What could you do with that equity? You know, how are your
Yeah.
parents, by the way? Are they in a position where, are they going to need medical help? Like, just don't
Yeah.
forget to make that touch and
I take that a
leverage your
step further,
clients.
Deborah. That equity will be put to work. That's for sure. We just don't know how.
Yes.
All right, guys. So we're in the last 4 minutes. I do want to remind people, like, all the questions in chat, and there's some things of value. If you want to copy them, there's a little bubble. If you put your mouse over the chat, there's a little 3 little bubbles, and you can copy right there. So Greg, that question you had, you can copy what's in here. But all the links and everything we've talked about are always in our YouTube. Like, this is our biggest audience is people that watch this on YouTube. And in the show notes down below, how to sign up for Bridge Builders, some of the links that I've called out, they'll all be down below in the show notes. David, in the last, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to cover before Mr. Bookspan does a little win by noon, taking action coaching close?
Sure. I'll kind of wrap it up where we started. Seize the opportunity or get left behind. I will guarantee you this. You step out of this call, you go back into the office, whether it's today or Monday or whenever, there will be people bitching about this market. That is for sure. We have the opportunity to look ahead. And I'm telling you, as I look ahead, I just want to pull you along and say, I see things happening that I want to show you, and try to stay out of what people are saying, because not to turn a blind eye to what's happening. I'm not saying that, but I believe there's an optimistic leader's perspective right now that if you'll apply it, you'll work towards it. It's going to be a year that it's going to take more, no doubt, but you can win in this market for sure.
I feel like the action plan is pretty easy, right? First off, don't be doing the bitching in your office. That's an easy one. But let's be the optimistic folks. Let's be the educated folks. But the bottom line is there's no better opportunity now to jump in, get the free 2-week trial of Bridge Builders, because that's how you're going to see what's there and what you can use it for. And as I mentioned, my team is using the slides to build what I would call, looks like a custom presentation, but it's really their presentation, and my business partner is presenting it every month to realtors. I mentioned my friend Joe New in Texas. He's going to real estate offices and owning that because he makes it so easy. And then Deborah talked about the fact that they got great content out there for social posts, and she threw her plug and play link in there. So anyone needs some advice on social, I would absolutely take advantage of chatting with her about it. But the bottom line is it's such an easy thing to take action on, and you can kick the tires for free for 2 weeks. So I would encourage you to do it, and then become that educated person that David talked about, who can explain the markets to people and explain what your opinion on 2024 is what you believe. And I think that that's just a really easy way that David walked through it in a small number of slides that you can replicate by becoming a member.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for the attention you invest in this community, the fact you show up. Let us know what your reaction is. We always love to know what you thought of today's call. Use that little reaction button down below. If you have not already subscribed to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to that channel. If you aren't following us, I've got a Facebook, or not a Facebook, but a text group. I just forgot the number, but I have a, Savage Insights text group where I'm sending out coaching text a couple times a week on the best content in this community. Make sure you subscribe to that. I'll put the number down below, and I got to remember that number. But thanks everybody. And this call is a wrap.
Good seeing you
See ya.
all.
Bye.